Everybody, this is just Marvin and Dan today because we're trying something pretty different. Just wanted to try some of the things that a lot of people are doing for things like video games.
It's colorful.
Yeah, we're on the bandwagon for.
It is a time-honored human tradition. It is a great pastime of all of our lives.
Yep.
We all want to sit back and remember things. And also categorize them.
Yep. So here we are. We are ranking the Star Trek episodes, specifically Star Trek TNG Season 1. We're starting off with that. And the reason why it's just me and Dan today is there's twofold. One, Sarah has not seen most of these episodes, actually. She watched a few of these with me back when we were doing the podcast and she wasn't on it yet. But the vast majority of these she has never seen. And the reason why Ricardo's not on here is because he literally does not remember most of them. So
yeah, this episode would inflate to 3 times its size if we had to recap.
You'll just be like, "What's that one?"
Well, okay, and I really shouldn't say anything about that right now because I am very not confident in how much I remember about these episodes at this point.
Yeah, so it'll be fine. It'll be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
I also think that there is merit in doing this list on Season 1 in particular because Season 1 is often dismissed out of hand.
Yeah.
By many fans at this point, like people who just think of Season 1 as an awful place no one dare tread.
Which I don't agree with. I think it's a fine season.
And I think if you watch closely, there's good bits to Season 1 that are definitely worth extracting.
Yeah.
And overall, it's, not unworthy of watching entirely. It's definitely, if you're going to watch TNG, you might as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it actually that is necessary to even understand what's going to happen in later seasons. So,
yeah.
So technically, if you guys are listening to the audio version of this, you can follow along. We're going to say what the rankings and tiers are, but you probably want to see the YouTube version of it. Not only am I going to put up the actual tier list so you can visually look at it, but I think I'm probably also going to be putting up clips of video here and there randomly that correspond to what we're talking about if it needs to be explained. So, yeah.
And if nothing else, you at least get a thumbnail of the episode.
Yeah. So, but if you're in the audio version already, feel free to keep listening. It's fine. It'll be fine. Yeah.
No, stop. You have to stop. Go to YouTube right now. Are you driving? Doesn't matter. Just
we get sued.
Okay, yeah, don't do whatever it was you're going to do.
Yeah,
including break.
But yeah, so it's not necessarily a traditional tier list, as you can see here. So I've created 4 tiers. So top of the top is peak Star Trek. Basically, this is as good as Star Trek gets.
I don't know. Okay, to be fair, I don't know if any of the episodes on this season should end up in that tier.
Okay, that's fair, but I might have some...
Like if we are trying to keep this, or if this scale is to withstand multiple tier lists, let's say, like if this is the scale that needs to maintain for future seasons as well, then I don't want to put many episodes, if any, in the top tier.
Okay, all right, that's fair. The tier after that is necessary viewing, which is that like...
Oh yeah, that is easy to put.
Yeah, like it's good, and you really should watch it. Like it's pretty...
Well, and also anything that includes crucial events or bits of lore that are referenced in later episodes and seasons.
Yeah.
Next, like introductions of characters and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Although sometimes the introductions, I think, aren't even necessary, which is actually a point I'll bring up for some of them. The third, watch if it comes on. This is like an episode where it's like, it's not offensive. It's okay. But, there's no reason to turn it off. If it comes on in the background, you're like, sure, that's fine. We can watch it. And the last one is just skip. It's just bad enough and has no value to Star Trek canon that it might as well not be there. A lot of people claim that's the entirety of the first season. I disagree,
right,
for many reasons. But All right. Well, before we get started, I did want to do sponsors really quick, but they're going to be quick versions of our sponsors.
Oh, God.
Basically, just, ExpressVPN, you know them. So if you want to go on to ExpressVPN.
Oh, we love you, ExpressVPN.
Just go to expressvpn.com/newbie Star Trek. And if you sign up for 2 years, they'll give you 4 months for free, plus the entire Identity Defender suite. So again, that's expressvpn.com/newbie Star Trek. And just sign up for 2 years, 4 months free. Identity Defender suite for free. That's pretty good. If you want to know the details of that,
goddamn neck.
Yeah, if you want it, just go over that and check it out. It's a VPN. You all know what a VPN is.
It's a virtual private network. Duh.
Next is Extra. Extra makes nice, fun little wallets that have pop-up buttons, but also lots of everyday carry stuff and bags. You can just head on over to extra.com. That's EKSTER.com. And if you check out using our offer code Newbie, that's NEWBIE, they'll give you an additional discount off of anything you order site-wide. And we say additional because they often have sales going. So again, just head to extra.com and use our offer code Newbie, NEWBIE, for an additional discount. And last one, just because we're going through these really fast, might as well, House of Wise. House of Wise is pretty cool, if you want to get high-quality CBD products in a variety of forms to suit a variety of needs, you can always go to houseofwise.co/newbie Star Trek, Newbie Star Trek being in all caps. Or when you check out, just use our promo code Newbie Star Trek in all caps, and I'll get you 10% off your entire order. And they have free shipping on any order over $69. So again,
cool.
Head on over to houseofwise.co/newbie Star Trek, or just use the offer code Newbie Star Trek when you check out. Get 10% off. All right, so we start off with Encounter at Farpoint, one of the weirdest starts to a series ever.
Well, okay. In this list, are we counting it as a single episode or as 2 episodes? Because at least in my mind, I can't separate the two.
Yeah, it's a single episode. Even in this list that I've pulled up, it's considered one episode. So
okay, good.
So I mean, well, one of the things I was going to do with this is, Dan, give us a quick summary of Encounter at Farpoint.
Okay, what the 2 main bits about Encounter at Farpoint that I remember are there are like 2 main things that happened. It's one, they meet Q and are put on trial for humanity by Q.
Yes,
and there's also the injured spaceship jellyfish on the planet that is being held captive by a society that is trying to be freed by another space jellyfish above the planet.
Yeah, that's it.
And these are, very powerful beings that can make things appear out of thin air, like fruit for Riker.
They're kind of like in real world replicators. They'll replicate it instantly.
And they just sense your thoughts and make things happen.
Yeah, they just want to.
And apparently they're very easy to control, even though they're this powerful.
Yeah, why wouldn't they then bring into reality a gun to shoot that guy in the head?
Or, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but Star Trek.
Yeah, it also introduces all of our characters with characterizations that will not carry over to the rest of the series, because Picard
let's take inventory. What are the traits that don't carry over?
Picard starts off as a huge dick. He kind of he's very stern, doesn't really like to talk, and he tells Riker to manually mount reconnect a ship, even though
that's true.
He's kind of a jackass. Riker and Data have this thing where Riker says, "I don't really trust you," and that never really ends up being a thing. So
true.
Deanna kind of comes up in a way where the problem with that is that Deanna has no personality until the 4th season.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything to thwart from this episode.
Tasha dies, so it doesn't matter.
Wow.
Let's see. Beverly's about the same, actually. Beverly's
Beverly's pretty constant.
Yeah, she's assertive.
Okay, what about Q though?
Well, this is the most asshole-ish he's ever been in Encounter at Farpoint. I guess it's
the most antagonistic he's been toward humans, as a species, perhaps.
Yeah, he's actively trying to actually kill them all unless he can convince them. They can convince him otherwise. So. That's pretty different. But
also at the same time, it's not he was stopped or anything. He just decided not to.
It's all just a part of him fucking around. So,
well, they turned out to be more impressive than he expected, and so he spared him.
Yeah, despite having the court case in crazy ass World War III courtroom where
and like the inhaler from the Kevlar vest or whatever.
Yeah, the inhaler from Mad Max Fury Road that they take before they die. I would put this, even though it's not a great episode, I would still put it at necessary viewing, just because
I would put it as necessary viewing because it is like the premiere of a series and an introduction to a whole crew, and you know, there's a lot going on here. It's also the very first glimpse ever of Q, and
as much as we lament Q sometimes, he's an integral part of the whole Star Trek franchise, really. So, you know.
And as much as I validate Ricardo's views, it's not like I actually hate Q myself.
I agree with him. I'm not a huge fan of Q, but at the same time, he is there, and you can't just ignore him. So I think that puts it all into necessary viewing. The second episode, which it's cut off here, whoever made this cut it off a little bit, but that's The Naked Now. What the summary of The Naked Now would be?
Everyone got drunk. Tasha has sex with Data.
Yeah.
Wesley takes over the ship with was it via voice impersonator?
Yeah, he created like a voice impersonator for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, so he just had one of those to, you know, commit fraud.
Yeah. That alone should have gotten him.
And identity theft.
Yeah. Yeah, he's committing identity fraud, essentially. Yeah.
Like, he used an AI voice clone before it was ever a thought in anyone's mind.
Yeah, and he claimed the reason he made it was so that he could have Picard tell him orders and live out his fantasies, which is very weird.
Like when we recorded the original episode of that, AI voice clones weren't yet like nearly as easy to do.
They existed, so we knew it was possible. They had
it was like, oh, the tech exists, so it must be possible, but it's not nearly as accessible.
Oh no, not to the point where it is like now, where it's like frightening.
Yeah, anyone can be Wesley now.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, in fact, I saw a post from someone that I know who recently nearly fell victim to a India or perhaps Pakistan-based scam.
Oh my
where he was told. Well, actually, this wasn't like AI voice based, but it was like an elaborate. We are impersonating like a bank, and we are going on a video chat with you with like people dressed in uniforms.
Yep.
And the only tell is that everyone happens to be a certain ethnicity and have a certain accent.
There was a crazier version
and also,
of this.
They're asking for too much information, of course.
There was also a crazier version of this where someone at like a really big company actually gave out all of their financial information, because when he got an angry email and set of Slack messages, and he's like, get on a Zoom call with us right now. And when he got on the Zoom call, it was like the CEO, the CFO, and some other high up dudes, but they were all deepfakes. But they were done well enough of the people that he was like, he thought he was in trouble. And he thought he would be fired if he didn't do exactly as they said. Because
so was it like a live cam?
Yeah,
like,
it was live
filter.
Yeah, it was a live. It was a live like
That's
Google
elaborate.
Meet, and he was like, okay, I'm sorry, you know, like he doesn't want to get fired, and they look like his bosses and the CEO of the company. So, you know, so that's the future we're in. This awful future.
Damn.
Well, anyway, I personally think Naked Now is a watch if it comes on.
Yeah.
It's not the worst, but it's also like, it's kind of funny in a few places, but it's not really necessary.
Like,
you know?
If Wesley annoys you, there's too much of that in there. Like,
yeah. But you see the origins of why someone would be like, man, fuck this guy.
Right, yeah. if you're trying to investigate and analyze Star Trek, it's necessary viewing. But if you're just trying to watch Star Trek and have a good time,
it's fine.
It's not necessary.
All right, I'll put it here. Watch if it comes on. All right, next, Code of Honor. Dan, what's Code of Honor about?
All I know, like, we always refer to this episode as Space Wakanda. And at this point, it's kind of all I remember about it now. Like, in fact, there are a lot of these episodes that at this point to me have been reduced to the shorts you've made from them, because those are the only bits of the episode that I get to see over and over again, like when I encounter them in my feeds or what have you.
This is also why, though, I can't do the summaries, because I've been doing the shorts. So, like, what goes on the episode is pretty well burned in my brain. So,
well, at the same I mean, it also means you're the better person to do the summary.
No, I want to know what you think.
Okay, Space Wakanda, jungle gym laser strippers.
Yeah.
And We got a gauntlet that kills a bystander with a spike.
Yeah.
Just because it landed on him.
Yeah. All of this for a vaccine.
Yeah, and the very first appearance of the clicky sticks.
Yes, the very first appearance of Star Trek's Thunder Sticks. Although they could be in TOS, we don't know. I mean, I could very easily see this being a TOS thing too.
Yeah, that they might have been clicking them during that Ponfar battle.
Yeah. Also very racist. That's the whole point of the episode almost, is that it's
like Space Wakanda is a very generous, like...
Yeah, that makes it think like it's really cool, but it's actually just very like racist.
Actually not at all.
I mean, this is a very easy skip.
We should actually apologize to Black Panther.
I mean, aside from the fact that it's racist, it actually doesn't offer anything for the canon. You could remove this. Even if it wasn't racist, it doesn't add anything to the show. So
this is one of those things where it's worth watching if you want to see, the embarrassing parts. Mm-hmm. And there are people that, want to see them.
Yeah, if you want to know historically where Star Trek was willing to go in the past, here we go.
Yeah, if you want to see the stumbles, the blemishes, and the warts and all.
Yeah.
You look at this one.
Well, next is The Last Outpost. Do you remember that one?
The Last Outpost, is that the first appearance of the Traveler?
No.
Is that the first? Oh, wait. The thumbnail, it's a Ferengi guy. So yeah, it's the first appearance of Ferengis. You got your lightning whips on a foggy planet. Mm-hmm. There's also one of the ultra powerful beings that are beyond that are better than us.
Yeah.
On that planet.
The last of his kind. And The Last Outpost. Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of those in Star Trek lore.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah. He was like the first. Well, actually, Encounter at Farpoint was already one.
Yeah. And this is almost this actually reminds me of that one last Japanese soldier that refused to give up. And then he had to have like a Japanese general come in and say, "Hey, the war's been over for 25 years."
You mean Custer?
Is that what it was?
No, like Custer's Last Stand and.
Oh, no, I
think it's a similar story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, there was like an actual Japanese soldier who had been like hiding in the jungle for like 25 years until after World War II, and then like a general had to come to be like, "Hey, Japan surrendered. I'm a real general. This is not a trick." Because he refused to give up. That's what the Last Outpost guy reminded me of. Because he was also like, I did not realize I was the last one. I've just been at my post for a long time. So.
Was that the dude's story?
Yeah.
I remember him bonding with Riker and...
he respected Riker's intelligence. This is the first episode that also established Riker's intelligence, where he's not...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's not just sexy, have sex man. This was back when they were trying to give Riker more like intelligent things to do instead of being the guy who asks.
This also the episode? Sorry, was this also the episode where Riker goes, "Anybody"?
Yeah. At the cliffside. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So that's The Last Outpost. See, I personally think this is a skip. I don't think this is necessary at all because the Ferengi do show up later, but you can just assume the Ferengi existed in the universe. Yeah. And also, the only reason you would need this in canon is that there is like a Telltale Games style game where the Last Outpost guy shows up. But other than that, I don't know if this is necessary viewing.
Well, I mean, yeah, like again, this is one out of a dozen, more powerful than human, last of his kind types out in space somewhere.
Not to mention, this initial depiction of Ferengi is the most...
Yeah, it's obsolete.
It's also the most stereotypical depiction of the Ferengi we got was in their first depiction.
Yeah, this is the version that essentially got retconned out of existence over time.
Yes. Armin Shimmerman, now playing Quark in DS9, played one of the Ferengi here, and he's always regretted the way he played it here. So this is potentially a skip. Yeah.
Ferengi and DS9 do not act like these guys any longer.
No. And in fact, the very first time Ferengi show up in DS9, they intentionally made Quark look super cool when he walks out of the shadows and goes, "Hi, I'm Quark.
Yeah.
I run the establishment here." So I'd say this is a skip, but it's obviously above Code of Honor.
Sure.
Code of Honor is probably going to be the worst of the season. I can't imagine anything worse than that. So The Traveler is the next one where no one has gone before.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's where Wesley's lover shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was the rest of the plot? What's the rest of the summary for that? For where no one's gone before?
I don't know how they got way farther out than ever. How were they flung out into like deep space? That's
because
where they ended up, right?
Because the Traveler has warp technology powers built into his mind.
Oh, wait a minute. The Traveler accompanied another engineer, didn't he?
Yes, that asshole engineer guy thought he was doing it all, and it turns out it was the Traveler really doing it.
Oh, yeah. Like he was like propped up as like, well, this is a guy who's like a great expert at engineering, and he thinks he's hot shit, but actually the Traveler's been doing everything in secret?
Yeah, somehow unauthorized.
And he never noticed?
No one ever
nor
noticed.
Did anyone else? These feats of engineering?
No one else bothered to look at his code and was like, "It's a weird." Although even in the Enterprise, when what was that guy? That it was like the chunky engineer who eventually got fired from the show.
Oh, the beardy guy.
Yeah, because he got fired because he sent fan letters to himself.
Oh, was that him?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, dang it!
It's not right. It's like Riger or something. That's not Flannel. What's his name? I forgot.
I don't remember.
But yeah, he got fired.
You mean like the guy that looked kind of a bit like Al Borland?
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
But the reason he got fired is because he wanted to convert his character to a permanent character. So he pre-sent fan letters demanding his character become a full-on character, but he had mistimed it. It was before the episode ever came out, so they knew it was him. So he's an idiot. But yeah, this is the episode with Wesley's lover.
Yes.
This is hard.
Well,
here's the thing. I think this is technically a necessary viewing.
And I don't know everything, but I have...
The Traveler has shown up again, you know?
Yes. So the fact that Traveler has come up at least one more time, and I believe I have heard that he may appear again later.
Yeah.
But for all the reasons, I'm not totally sure.
Yeah. And this is a very minor spoiler, but some of the circumstances that show up in this episode is actually a big part of Wesley's overall ending arc for his character, actually. So this is actually like the start of Wesley's character arc for the entire Star Trek franchise.
So it's necessary viewing for Wesley.
Yeah.
If you care about Wesley, watch Where No One Has Gone Before.
Yeah. So, because like in terms of feeling, it feels like a watch if it comes on. But in terms of the content, it's kind of necessary. So I think it's funny if you think of the Traveler as this weird pedo who's like following him everywhere.
I don't know if it's funny, but no, the bits that would infuriate me about the episode I'm now remembering is how they said he was such a fast guy.
Yeah, but he's so fucking slow.
He's the slowest fucker in the universe.
Yeah. And
he's not nimble at all. He has like fewer digits than anyone.
Yeah, with his Ninja Turtle fingers, he can't fucking type at all, you know, like so.
Yeah, he's got the Balrog boxing glove typing hands.
No, Balrog typed way faster than he did. Come on.
He did actually.
No, don't go down on Balrog like that. Come on.
I would never.
All right, next episode, Lonely Among Us. Oh boy, even I have a little trouble remembering what this one's about. So,
well, the thumbnail is actually helpful because it has the Palpatine lightning.
Yeah, but why is there Palpatine lightning?
Well, that only happened when Picard was temporarily Palpatine and shocked everyone.
Somehow Palpatine returned as Picard.
Yes, he was possessed by a Lonely Among Us.
Yeah. The first of two possessions of Picard this season.
See, he's been living lives and been occupied and hosting entities like since time immemorial.
Yeah, it's just a tradition for your captain to get possessed. So
yeah, it's just a thing that happens.
Yeah. I just realized it's only
in the console.
The possessions
end up in the console as P.
And then the possession episodes are only 2 episodes apart. I just realized.
Damn.
He gets possessed a lot. Damn. All right. So yeah, so basically some sort of energy being comes out of a cloud, and first it goes into
taking over crew.
First it goes into Worf. Then it goes into Beverly. Then it goes into Picard. And it ends up killing...
Was this episode where Beverly was acting like really sexy at Picard?
No, that was Naked Now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because she was drunk. And she's like, I haven't had a feeling of a man. Like, that's literally the line. Like,
yeah.
You know, and then the Indian engineer dies. It's the first on-screen death in TNG.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and I think it's also maybe the first instance of them having to use a saved pattern of a person in a computer.
It sort of
to reconstruct them.
It proved the transporter can do anything.
Yes,
because he was literally just space dust at that point.
Yeah.
So they realized.
So they brought Picard back from the dead once now.
Yeah. This is already not. We've already ship of Theseus to Picard, and this is not the original Picard already.
Well, let's be real here. Every transport is that.
Yes, that's true. This one is a weird one. I think this is a skip, personally. I see no value to this episode.
Well, the fact that none of us remembered it, really. Or like, well, okay, we kind of did, but I also had to skim over Memory Alpha a bit.
Okay.
So
you're cheating.
Yes, I did cheat a little bit on this one. That's why I remembered anything at all. And I bet you, listener, that you didn't remember shit either, and I helped you.
All right,
you're welcome.
So I'll put this in skip, but I'll put it above The Last Outpost. I don't think it's as bad as that. It's a little funnier than
like if this was in the watch if it comes on tier, I wouldn't be mad.
That's also true. Fine. Yeah,
it's right on the edge,
but it's skippable in my opinion. I don't think you even need it. Next is Justice. So what was Justice, Dan? This thumbnail does not help for Justice.
Yeah, but the Justice I do recall because we have referenced it several times. It was our first actual sex planet. Mm-hmm. It was the first of the sex planets. Mm-hmm. It was retro Star Trek costuming, cotton cut up cotton T-shirts on people.
Yep. It was explicitly our first full on nothing but sex planet.
Yeah. And so after a rollicking good time on shore leave, finding out that they make love at the drop of a hat, they send Wesley down there.
Wesley, you should check it out. Child.
Immediately. Wesley, you next.
And it's his mom who suggests it. So,
but fortunately, he gets sentenced to death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
because he crashes into some flower glass.
Yeah,
boy, is that a no-no.
Yeah, and the rest of the episode is just them waffling about of whether they should kill him or not.
And it's the first time they defy the Prime Directive.
Yeah, they wouldn't do it for fucking Code of Honor with the fucking. Millions of lives at stake with the vaccine. Let's not violate the Prime Directive there, but Wesley might die. Let's violate there. So
I forgot about the Prime Directive piece of Code of Honor, but this was definitely, it's the first part I remember of Star Trek deliberately rejecting the Prime Directive.
I think this one's a little tough, actually. I think this is somewhere in between watch if it comes on or skip, because it's technically skippable, but it's also part of the explanation of why people don't like Wesley.
I think it's a watch if it comes on because the outfits are funny.
Yeah, and the whole premise is really dumb. There's
a lot of visual fun to be had in this episode. So I consider this a watch if it comes on.
Yeah. I mean, they literally just find a planet and they go, wow, everyone here just loves having sex. It's crazy.
And you can laugh at the extremely hairy middle-aged teen.
Right. The teenagers who are clearly men in their late 20s. So
jogging for fun, as one does.
Yeah. All right. Next one's the battle.
This one I recall because I actually did edit shorts for it.
Oh, right. Yeah. We were splitting the load.
Another Ferengi episode. And it was the introduction of Picard's history with the Stargazer. And how he killed people back in the day.
Yep.
Back when his old bloodthirstier days.
Yep. And then he invented the Picard maneuver, which was actually a pretty sick idea. Stopping a warp mid-warp, so you create two versions of yourself and the enemy doesn't know which version to attack. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But this is also the second time the Ferengi show up.
Yeah, and Picard is we said possessed, but more like he's being made to
he's mind
hallucinate.
Yeah.
Definitely mind control. Like he's being fooled into thinking he's in a scenario he's not.
Yeah. And if this was going to be, if you had skipped the Last Outpost, this would be a better introduction for the Ferengi, honestly, because it shows more nuance to their whole culture. It makes them seem more war-based than they really are, but you at least see like some Ferengi are assholes. Others care about doing the right thing, and hence
and they can also have dissent within themselves.
Yeah, this is a way better episode for the Ferengi. I would say this is technically necessary viewing because it's about the Stargazer, which is a pretty important part of Picard's past.
I'd say it's necessary viewing, especially if we are discounting the first Ferengi episode. Like this, using this as an introduction, I'm cool with. So,
and I'd say it's actually the best of these three so far.
So far, perhaps,
because Encounter's not great.
It's also too long. Encounter drags in a lot of places that makes you not really want to revisit it a lot. Yeah,
it's a thing. It's a very slow series. It's a slow two-parter. Like not much goes on. Next is Hyde and Q. So what was Hyde and Q about?
Well, Q comes back. What I remember is that he gives Riker powers, and Riker gives people things that he thinks they want, but they're like, I'm cool, bro. And he's like, oh, didn't you want this? I'm a god now.
Yeah.
No.
Don't you want to be a weird looking adult, Wesley?
Yeah. Don't you want to lose whole chunks of your life?
Yeah. And for Geordi had the most nothing to lose version of this, which was just get your eyesight back. And then he just said no, and I was like, "Oh, well, okay, your wish is good." like that one you should have kept.
Well, I guess it's also prudent not to trust Q powers. Like if it's Q healing you, maybe you don't really necessarily want to have that on you all your life.
This is also the episode where we saw Wesley get stabbed in the back with a bayonet and die.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yes. So
also Worf getting
is a high point for many.
Yeah. Also, Worf getting stabbed on the ground with a bayonet. A lot of people got stabbed pretty bad in this episode. And Riker does the weirdest Q motion, which is lifting with his hands super high in order to make things happen. It's I
don't remember how that looked.
Yeah, it looks like he's doing Doctor Strange in a fighting game movements.
I remember that green sky on that planet that Q sent them to,
which almost certainly was supposed to be a green screen that just didn't work out.
Yeah, it looks really awful. Honestly, it doesn't look very much like an actual location.
Yeah, so that's Hyde and Q. I mean, it's a better Q episode than Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it's necessary. That's the thing. So it could be a watch if it comes on.
I would call it a watch if it comes on.
Yeah, and I think it's more interesting than The Naked Now. Personally, I don't know. Well, it depends. If Ricardo were here, Ricardo would be like, "Oh no, The Naked Now is way better because of all the sexy."
Well,
times.
if for Ricardo, every Q episode would be skipped.
It's true. I think I would put it above The Naked Now personally, just because.
I'm just deferring to you when you're getting to when it comes to fine tuning these ratings.
Oh, what do you think? What do you think?
No, honestly, I do not have defined feelings enough for this. My vague recollections are as far as I go.
Okay, well, I'll put it above The Naked Now then, because The Naked Now is kind of it's just a funny throwaway episode. Hyde and Q actually has a message.
Well, okay, I think I also want to give some space to the potential phenomenon of myself at least, being so exposed to Star Trek stuff now as a host of this podcast that maybe I am a little overexposed to the pieces that people like about certain episodes. And so the things that people love about episodes, I might have become desensitized to because it's well, yeah, of course that's good. Of course that's great. I know. But then I also have lost my excitement.
But I think that brings up a good point though, which is more of I think two things are happening at the same time. I think one is that just a general corpus of Star Trek content is so big that most people can't have it all in their minds at all at once unless they're actively rewatching them all the time. It's really difficult. There's an average of 26 episodes a season A lot of these shows, 7 seasons,
shows are 6 or 7 seasons each. And
yes, and that's a lot to keep track of. Not to mention in a quality manner, and I think also the rise of the memification of Star Trek things has led it so that people tend to remember what they like about episodes based on memes more than their own recollection of it. I think a big version of that is Darmok, where I do think Darmok is a good episode, but a lot of people rank it as like one of the best episodes of TNG ever. And I'm like, I'm not sure it is really. It's just very memorable because of the hook, but the central premise of it is it's essentially a misunderstanding,
Yeah. And I think it definitely hits best when you haven't seen other versions of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up. But anyway, next episode's Haven. Do you remember Haven?
Prison break guy comes to marry Deanna. Teabag. That's his name. Sorry.
It's important that it's Teabag over any of the prison break people.
True. It is true. Teabag is not the person from Prison Break you would typically want to marry, for the record.
Maybe you do.
Well, some did.
Yeah.
Or if not marry, at least something else.
Either the fuck in Fuck, Marry, Kill or...
Yes. Yes. And Riker, we dubbed him a fuckboy as of that episode because of his behavior.
Yeah.
He was all mopey and all that, and generally immature about how things are going.
And Riker and Deanna's relationship was presented as if it was from Star Wars Episode 2, where Deanna literally goes, "But you want to be a senator. Senators can't marry." Basically.
Yeah. Well, not literally, but
I know. But it's just like it's a nonsense argument. You want to be a captain, therefore we can't be together. It's like, what? Makes no sense.
Well, because Starfleet is very, very strict about HR matters,
Yeah, very strict. Yeah.
Very strict.
Very strict.
It was also an introduction to a version of the Trellians.
Yes, one of the Trellians.
Yeah, one of the Trellians we saw.
Yeah.
They turned out to be like 90s aerobics yoga instructors.
Mm-hmm. They look very healthy despite dying of a plague.
Inside of a modern art museum.
Yeah. that's Haven.
So that's them. But it turned out that Teabag was actually a really great guy in this episode. He was nothing but cool.
He's the best.
It just turned out that he was really obsessed with one of these Trellians because he was drawing her all the time since he was a kid.
Yeah, but he was also like, "But Deanna, you are really cool. Maybe I'll
Deanna, you are amazing, but I got this lady in my head that I draw all the time. Yeah, and I'm a little fixated on this lady."
Yeah, and also he went to Lwaxana. Lwaxana, he asked her, "So why did this happen? Why did I keep dreaming of her?" And her explanation was that sometimes love travels across the universe, and you're like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Was Lwaxana like?
This is the introduction of Lwaxana.
Oh shit! I didn't realize that.
It came.
I guess it would be because because it of course it's Deanna's first marriage episode. So
in fact, her announcement was made with that weird chest that had a face on it. Remember?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. All that was also there, and I totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. This episode explained love like Interstellar explained love. It's just
for all those reasons, I guess this has to be necessary viewing.
I think it's like a soft skip. I don't know how necessary this is really. And
okay, I'll call it necessary viewing if you care about character introductions.
Though, yeah, that's the thing.
If you care about character introductions, Lwaxana is necessary viewing. Doesn't matter about the content of the show.
Yeah, and it does set up their relationship really well between her and Deanna. So
that it does, and it also very well establishes Picard's distaste for Lwaxana
and the ribbing she does for
capitalized
Picard.
On later.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a soft necessary viewing then. Yeah, I think that has to be there. Well, next is the big goodbye.
Oh, I like this one.
Yeah,
I like this one a lot. This might be the only candidate in this season, maybe, that I would consider like potentially peak.
Oh, interesting.
I think.
Okay, that's fascinating. I also we'll summarize the episode.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I don't remember all that much about the specifics of it. It's just that this is the fun gangster one.
Yes. Yeah.
Where they get to, act out their funny little gangster story and just, goof around inside this extremely expensive set that ruined. Wait, no. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. I'm skipping ahead of season.
Yeah, the Sherlock Holmes
thing.
I believe for The Big Goodbye, a lot of the sets already existed to some capacity. Therefore, it was not as expensive.
Right.
As
okay,
it
you know what?
Yeah.
I think I might be softening my opinion of this because I was thinking of Sherlock Holmes first and foremost, when I was talking about this episode.
Because
first.
of Moriarty.
However,
because in
Moriarty,
yes.
My bad.
Although this does have Cyrus Redblock, who's pretty neat.
He's cool, and also I do think it's was a neat introduction right away to the the moral thing.
The ending is extremely good.
Exactly, the ending, it was my favorite piece of this episode, which brought to the forefront the question of well, if you're creating entities inside of this holodeck that are seemingly sentient and conscious, what happens to them when you leave? Or and they don't answer that question really.
Yeah, Picard himself admits, I have no idea. But
it's a dang good question.
Yeah.
And it's worth asking and showing. So I like that ending a lot.
I think because of that ending alone, for me, this is peak.
And I think that off of that moment, I kind of still get to stand by my initial reaction to it.
Yeah, because to me, it's almost like the first time you bring up a holodeck centric episode, you touch on all the points that are important.
Yes,
like it traditionally does. Something goes wrong and it becomes dangerous. But also, it allows them to explore dumb period piece stuff, which is always fun. But at the same time, there's
all the good bits of a holodeck,
and then there's a really good moral quandary at the end. Whereas, for example, one of the more recent holodeck episodes we watched was the one where Worf and his son go into the Wild West. That one doesn't really have a moral quandary at all. It's just to fuck around on the Wild West set, So that's actually
by that point, anyone you kill in a holodeck, it's fine.
Yeah, so I would actually rank that lower than The Big Goodbye if it was to be ranked that way. So yeah, I think it's our first peak Star Trek. There you go. Next is Datalore.
We might be a little generous, but we are only looking at season 1 here, so might as well, I guess.
But also, I think it's that I always, whenever I think about that ending, I always go, that's really good acting, and it's a really good question to ask about what just happened here.
True.
So I think it's really good.
I do think it's really compelling to see the fictional characters start to freak out and get so inquisitive.
Yeah, that's always
and be
cool.
What the hell is you've just blown my entire world here.
And
please tell me more.
And the ultimate version of that being Moriarty, where he's the coolest version of that. But yeah, next is Datalore, which is Ricardo's first episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
This is an easy one to summarize. What's Datalore?
So Data's evil older brother shows up, and turns out that he was the prototype that was a little wacky and not so good. And he's here to kill everyone by selling them out to the crystal entity.
Yeah, it's the introduction of the crystal entity.
Because he's in cahoots with it? I don't know why.
Yeah, he can communicate with it.
They never explained.
Yeah, and the moral of the story is that emotions make you evil.
Yeah, and it also proved that they're able to replicate living things like trees.
Yes, and also that they should trust Wesley again, because Wesley's the one who kept saying, something's wrong with Data. It's not Data.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. He did. Yeah. So good job, Wesley, I guess.
See, this is technically necessary.
It's at least necessary viewing because you gotta explain where lore comes from.
Yeah.
Or it's worth explaining where lore comes from.
And the crystalline entity.
Also crystalline entity.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of origins here.
Yeah.
Or first introduction.
But it's higher than Haven, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe higher than where no one has gone before. Because that's just the Traveler. It was not that big a deal. I mean,
yeah, no, and lore, especially at this stage in the show, is fun.
Yes, yeah,
because up till now you've pretty much only seen Data being Data.
Yeah,
and a gangster.
Yeah,
and
it's as usual. Brent Spiner needs an excuse to go clownish, and
he needs to let it out every so often.
Yeah. Next one, Angel One. What's Angel One, Dan?
Sex Planet number 2.
Sort of.
That's what I think of it as. It's also sexy Riker outfit episode. It was the matriarchal society where women rule over men, and the leader of that society takes a liking to Riker. That's about as far as I remember. I don't remember how it resolved or what it was about.
Basically, they were trying to recover a bunch of space truckers who got marooned on this planet, Angel 1, and it turns out...
Oh, yeah, and they were men, and they were... or something, right?
They were men, so they were fugitives, and then it turns out they had started families with some of the women. The men had tamed some of the women. That's basically the plot.
Jeez. Like, it's kind of a sideways version of that Klingon episode we just had, the two-parter with Worf.
Sort of. Yeah, it almost reminds me of like it's like one of the more cliche tropes you can do in sci-fi. It's like, what if, in America,
pocket society,
the slaves were white instead of black? It's like they just reverse it.
Yeah,
It's so lame.
Yeah, very simple reversal stuff.
It's so lame as a concept. It doesn't really have much to say, honestly.
Okay, I haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have this impression that sort of writing was more common in TOS.
Yeah. I mean, like the most famous one is like, the aliens with
the white and black guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The one that Sarah's dad loves talking about every time we talk about Star Trek. He always brings that one up.
Yo, but it solved racism. I assume.
Yeah.
Is the tone.
Yeah. So Angel 1, I think, is a skip, honestly. It's if you're really concerned with how sexy Riker can appear, I guess you could watch it if it comes on. But otherwise it's a skip. Am I being too mean to it? Maybe it is a watch if it comes on. I mean, it's kind of like got lots of sexy times in it. So
like whenever it's a Sex Planet episode, I'm willing to allow it to be a watch it if it comes on, because
I'd say it's not as it's lower than Justice though, because
not Justice, as much eye candy.
Also, Justice Wesley is almost executed. So that's kind of a higher point than Angel 1, where the
plot in Hiding Q he was executed.
It's true. That's why it's higher.
Yes.
Yeah. So
this is the real tier list. How close is Wesley to execution?
How close are we? How close are we to killing Wesley? That's, all right. Next episode 11001001. What was this episode about, Dan?
It was the Bynars who came in to upgrade the holodeck. Was this also the jazz bar lady?
Mm-hmm. Minuet shows up here.
Okay, Minuet. That's right. That's right. So, that was all one episode then.
Yep.
Yeah, so Riker goes into the holodeck, invents himself an AI girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
The AI girlfriend wants to have a threesome with Picard.
Yeah.
I don't know much. I don't remember much else.
So this was actually also a very action heavy episode. So the Bynars actually came on board because they needed to upgrade the overall computer systems, but their ulterior motive was that they needed to save the entire database of their planet onto the Enterprise computer, because their planet was about to be hit by a solar flare that would create an EMP pulse that would wipe out their society, because their society is based on a computer.
We were afraid you would say no.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we were afraid you would say no.
Yeah, because they think binarily. Yeah. So we have maybe the first truly exciting action scene of the end of the show, which is they create a fake self-destruct signal. So everyone needs to evacuate, or not fake self-destruct, a fake warp drive failure signal. So everyone needs to evacuate. Data kicks everything into high gear. Everyone evacuates, and then it's actually pretty exciting. And this episode also almost ended with Picard and Riker self-destructing the ship, because they're like, well,
okay, yeah, that's the part I was about to bring up. I was like, I remember Picard and Riker like doing the synchronized like key sort of a thing to, initiate self-destruct sequence.
And it also weirdly ends with Picard for some reason being like, well, I'll drive the ship back home. And you're like, well, Riker's right there. He's the better driver. I don't know why you're driving it back home.
It's fine.
But yeah.
You need something to do.
I actually personally consider this the best episode of the season. So I personally put it above The Big Goodbye in Peak Trek. What do you think?
Well, I hadn't thought about that exciting bit in a while, but you are right. It is a good piece.
It's the first time the action in TNG feels genuinely exciting and feels like there's real stakes. And you're like, oh, shit, this is cool.
Right. I think this is a case of me not having considered this episode in kind of a while, because, like I said, I remember things based off the shorts you've made. There aren't as many shorts that are bringing up the important plot bits of this episode that I can remember that helped me keep it in my head this whole time. So the things you bring up are good points. I am willing to go with you on ranking it at least aside the big goodbye.
Okay.
Because it's also like good holodeck business.
Yeah. I mean, Minuet ends up being an important plot point later.
Okay. And
so some of that.
Well, and also Minuet, like in general as a character, is fascinating. Yeah, in her creation and how she operates, and it's just a fun exploration of like how the holodeck works and how various people might use it. Like Riker wants to go to a bar and get a trombone and blah blah blah. So
isn't it interesting that our 2 peak Star Treks so far are holodeck episodes?
I don't know if that's just going to be a trend, because in my mind, I don't automatically assume holodeck is good.
Exactly. Usually holodeck...
Yeah, that is interesting, right?
The trend of it is that holodeck episodes are actually pretty bad. or
this
consensus.
will be interesting to track, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, if we keep doing this, we might need to keep an eye on those holodeck episodes.
All right, well, our next episode, Too Short a Season. Very weird title. Do you remember this one?
Benjamin Button Negotiator tries to force himself into one last negotiation.
Yeah.
Whilst dying in reverse.
Dying, he's getting young too fast, too furiously.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also our super expensive chair that couldn't be used for shit.
Yeah, you really are basing all your memories on the shorts, because that was a very minor piece of trivia I brought up.
But it's memorable now.
Yeah. This is also the one where he admitted that he accidentally caused this war by fucking up the negotiations. So that's why he feels bad about it. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, a lot of crucial bits I'm not gonna have.
That's why he's an asshole. Not just because he wanted to negotiate one last time. It's because he essentially caused this war. So.
Also, he ignored his wife.
Yeah. His wife was like, "I don't want you younger. What am I gonna do? I'm fucking old."
Yeah.
So, I don't know where this goes. Honestly, it might be a watch if it comes on. It's honestly pretty forgettable.
I think it's a watch if it comes on for the spectacle of how horrible old man makeup can look.
One thing we forgot in Encounter at Farpoint, that old man makeup for McCoy is just awful.
Oh yeah, McCoy, he was part of that. Yeah,
it's they just can't get it right. So they try it again with Too Short a Season, and it's even worse.
The Dr. McCoy that got back in touch with his southern roots.
Yeah, and he's dying from Iverson's disease. That's why he's
damn. What did Alan Iverson do?
He stabbed him with a basketball.
Damn.
So, he chaos jumped on him. That's what happened.
Only Barkley can do that.
No, yeah, it's true, and that would cause an apocalypse. And then he does it with 2 balls at once. Okay. Spoilers. Too Short a Season. Okay. If it's in Watch If It Comes On, I don't think it's as fun as Angel 1.
Yeah, honestly, I am willing to call this a skip.
Okay.
Personally.
If it's under skip, it's probably even below Lonely Among Us, honestly.
Yeah, because like we follow so much of this guest character's journey, and you end up not really liking him.
That's the other point, is that this was originally written entirely from the guest character's point of view. It's why they follow him so much. Oh yeah, I remember
you said that.
Yeah, so that's also why it's kind of a weird feeling episode. We spend so much time with this guy that we don't really like. So that's a big part of it. So, okay. Next episode, When the Bough Breaks. What's that one about?
Isn't that Mars Needs Moms in Reverse?
Yes. Mars Needs Kids.
Yeah.
Another one where Wesley
stealing kids
could have died.
Oh yeah. He was in danger.
They were all in danger. They were all being slowly radiated to death. So
yeah, he had to round up the kids to stand up to the olds. All of the Ed Asners.
This is potentially the first time he could be viewed as like a good character. Potentially, he was legitimately the hero in this scenario, like through and through. Like I think that the point where it kind of cements him. I think even Will Wheaton admits this. The point where the audience thought, "Oh, this character is just an asshole," completely, was actually in the battle where he talks to Beverly and Deanna about, I scanned his the electrical patterns.
Yeah.
And it matched Picard's brainwaves. It's the exact same thing. And then when they walk away, he goes, "You're welcome, ladies." like, so that's
yeah
total asshole behavior. But then when the bow breaks, he's like sort of like I gotta kind of get shit together. So he's a bit better.
And he was like he was functionally the adult in the room.
Yes.
For that episode. So
and the voice of reason on the planet when you're like, this isn't working. What's going on? Like,
right. And was this a planet where they were so reliant on technology they didn't understand?
Yep. Yeah. They
okay.
Yeah. They had long forgotten. This is the future that I'm afraid humans will be in.
Oh yeah, we're headed there. We're on our way.
In like another 50 years, we're gonna forget how to build things. And just rely on the phones, the smartphones we have.
AI was our kiss of death. No one's going to learn shit for the next 2 decades, and then we're fucked.
So, this alien culture is basically where we're headed. So,
and when I mean learn shit, I mean the important engineering equipment, making things, the production shit that everyone thinks just happens forever without really considering it.
Yeah, who knows how to build an iPhone, right? Eventually that will die. It's I saw a very interesting video by People Make Games.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very niche topic, but it was about war games, right? And the guys who make war games are the same people who were making war games 50 years ago because no one else knows how to make war games. And that's a problem because these people are in their 80s. And once they die...
Not I don't know. I have this sense of dread. I don't know if any of our listeners can relate to this, but sometimes when you're scrolling social media, shorts, reels, or Instagram or whatever it is, you might come upon artisans or people who are masters of craft. Who are very much in their senior years already, and you don't see any indication whatsoever that they have apprenticed anybody.
Yep.
Or they're no apprentices. They're not mentoring anyone.
Yep.
And you're like, oh my god, this skill in this art is gonna disappear.
Yeah.
With this person.
There's this factory in Japan that makes the original way to make soy sauce, Japanese soy sauce. That's going away.
Yeah, that sort of shit.
That's gone. That'll be gone in another few decades because no one knows how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and at the same time, to a degree, a lot of this stuff is going to go away because just no one can be arsed.
It's too difficult.
There's a lot of things that are really tedious and time consuming and painstaking.
Yeah,
that is just becoming less valued now.
I mean, it's how there's a few things that already come to mind that we've already lost, the original way Romans made concrete. We've kind of forgotten. They never documented it in a correct way, so they just passed it out.
I feel every so often I keep hearing I keep seeing a new article. It's they recreated the recipe, or the newest attempt at recreating that recipe, or what have you.
Yeah, or the true flavor of original bananas that's just gone. No one thought to preserve it.
I think there's either something like it or a very close relative of it that you can find and taste.
Really?
I've heard.
Okay.
I've heard. I need to find what the name of it is, but apparently there is a variety that might still exist today. Or
there's an original Roman spice called asafoetida that no longer exists. It's literally extinct. So now we no longer know what food tasted like with asafoetida. It's these are gone to the winds.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of any post-apocalyptic situation where you have the old tech that is way better than anything you can make.
Yeah. Well, anyway, when the bow breaks.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where that. It's inoffensive.
Just off of vibes alone, I want to call this a. Okay, as soon as I think about the rest of Trek, this becomes a skip. If I'm only looking at these episodes, it's a watch if it comes on.
Yeah.
But as soon as I factor in other seasons, this becomes a skip.
I think it's a watch if it comes on, personally. I mean, I think it's better than Angel 1, for example. So I think
I think I am just not very forgiving with children actors, maybe.
Well, luckily,
I do really love that moment where the old man tells the girl, "Now play something happy," and she says,
"When that ass
I'm not happy."
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh fuck,
I don't feel happy." He's like, "We've made a huge mistake by kidnapping children."
Yeah, that's funny. I guess when all else fails, we can always default back to Wesley endangerment.
Okay, well, if we're putting it that way, it's right behind Justice. Because he was slowly dying of radiation in that episode. When the Bough breaks.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, so we could put it there. Next episode, Home Soil.
Oh, the thumbnail is telling me that this is Ugly Bags and Mostly Water.
Yes. Yeah. Voiced by Brent Spiner. I did not realize. So
now, as soon as you say that, I can hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's him.
I didn't know that until way after we had recorded. I was like, oh shit, Brent Spiner is
okay, yeah. I totally hear that now in my head.
The one where we also realized that computers can do anything.
Yes, you can just speculate what this is. I don't want to call it life myself. You have to do it.
Yep.
Computer.
Yeah. Also, another Ed Asner in this episode. He's the old miner. And this is the one where like they were at the mining colony and someone had been killed by a laser, and Data was also almost killed by that same laser, and he did like fancy dodging moves.
Thrilling action sequence that we didn't see.
And then like all of that is just filler for when the little piece of crystal finally starts talking. That's really the important part.
Yeah, that's the part everyone remembers, especially because it has such a like key insult for people. Like everyone, like so many fans of Star Trek that I have seen and spoken to since that episode, like bring up this descriptor, Ugly Bags of Mostly Water, as like it stuck with them.
And also it's like reason. That's the point of the episode, really. Like, all the shit with the miners doesn't matter. Like, it's really about the fact that they discovered a new life form. It's all
mystery to kind of, get at the fact that, like, oh, like, these are the actions of self-preservation and self-defense.
Mm-hmm. This one's also a tricky one to rate. I feel like it's a watch if it comes on.
All right.
Because it's not necessary.
Go there with you.
But I don't know where in this scale. I think it's better than When the Bough Breaks.
Okay, yeah, I'll go through there.
Probably not as fun as Justice, though.
Yeah.
So I'll put it in between these
Justice
two.
has more to talk about, I think.
Yeah. Also, Wesley is almost more likely to die in Justice than in Home Soil.
Yes,
so
we've established that.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of Wesley, another Wesley episode, Coming of Age, although it's only half of a Wesley episode. Coming of Age.
Right. This is where he first meets the vaping harmonica fish man. At the Starfleet Academy
That's not an incorrect descriptor of this guy.
Yeah, it's the harmonica vaping fish man. That's a Wesley bit I remember. What's the other half of the episode?
Well, also it's he met him because he's about to take an advanced acceptance at the Starfleet Academy. He wants to do and they go through all the tests,
which culminates in we thought we made you think your life was in danger, that or people were dying, but we made you think
you sacrificed a human's life in order to save another one. That certainly won't cause trauma for the rest of your life.
Prank bro.
Yeah. The other half was the greatest hits of the Enterprise's failures during the season.
Oh, this was when Remick first showed up.
Yes. Yeah, when Remick.
Yeah, this was like his appearance before his head got exploded.
Yes, spoilers. Although not spoilers, obviously. But this was the introduction of Remick and his admiral, and him just grilling the Enterprise with honestly pretty reasonable questions.
Yeah, everything he brought up was worth bringing up, worth asking about at least.
Yeah,
this was a real investigation. He did his job. So
yeah,
I would say that I want to put it under at least watch if it comes on, potentially even necessary viewing, just because I like having to, holding them accountable for anything at all.
Yeah. I think it's necessary viewing, and in fact, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's better than Where No One Has Gone Before, and but not as important as Datalore.
It's a good bit of like self-aware commentary to be like, don't worry, we saw it too.
Yeah, and it's also
it's just a little bit of that.
It is technically necessary because it sets up another episode.
True, because Remick does return.
Yeah, which is essentially the episode that should have been the season finale, but wasn't. And then the moment I liked the most in here actually was this is the first moment of real humanity we see with Wesley and also with Worf at the same time in the same scene together. because in this thumbnail, this is when Worf comes in because he was about to do like a workout, and he realized Wesley's in there, and he goes, "Oh shit, sorry, I don't want to bother you." And Wesley goes, "Hey, actually, what did you think about your Starfleet exam, Worf?" And Worf, has a heart to heart with him, and it's actually a good moment of one. We're showing Wesley's a kid, and he's not like a superhero who knows everything, which is good. You need some vulnerability for a child who's growing up. Like, it's important. And the other is that we finally have a character moment from Worf, who otherwise didn't really have much of a character. Worf is the first Klingon to ever gone through Starfleet. His test was designed for him. And
we have Worf doing what he does best, being a father figure.
This is the most father-like he's ever been in the show. All right, so that's good. Next episode, Heart of Glory. Worf centric.
Speaking of Worf,
yeah.
Well, the thumbnail makes it very clear. Like, it's a very vivid memory of them shouting about, or yelling about the guy who died. But I don't remember all that much. Okay, they find a Klingon vessel, save Klingons from the vessel, or a vessel that had Klingons on it. And then the Klingons show up and they're like, "Yo, Worf, you're one of us. Hey, help us take these people down."
Help us take over the
Klingon,
Enterprise.
Right? You're cool, right? You're a Klingon for real, right? You're a real Klingon, right?
Do you have any idea how strong the Enterprise could be in a random war?
That we can start today?
Yeah, for fun. Now? For glory. Yeah.
Like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. This is the episode that makes you question, how can Klingons be a society?
Yeah, it's kind of the beginning of that.
Yeah.
But at least in this episode, I do believe that they kind of depicted this as like a bubble, like a small group.
They were outsiders, yes. Yeah.
So they weren't necessarily in line with Klingon culture as a whole at this point.
Yeah, because I think we do a cutaway to like a Klingon governor or something, and that governor does feel like he's like tired and weighed down by bureaucracy, but is also kind of like, these guys are idiots. What are they doing? So.
Yeah, you're talking to the diplomat Klingon versus the wartime Klingon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is like the samurai guy you're talking about, kind of.
Yeah.
Almost. Only that it's like, no, I don't want the war to be over.
So Heart of Glory. Where does that go?
I want to call it necessary viewing because it is like our first major exposure to Klingon values and culture.
That's true. It's the first time we see
how other Klingons view Worf.
Yeah, and we see him code switch back to being Klingon. Yeah.
True.
I think it's actually a good bit of acting or direction where in that scene where they're yelling to guide his soul to Stovokor, the two warrior Klingons start, Worf looks at them and goes, "Oh shit, I'm supposed to do this," and then joins them. I think it's a good bit of direction. He doesn't do it right away. True. Like he realizes he should join in because he's not fully part of the culture. So
it's like, oh shit, a real one.
Yeah, cool. I'm doing this for real. I've never done this before. Oh, cool. And then, then he's doing it. So yeah, I think I agree with the necessary viewing just because we do get our first glimpse into, and this depiction of them being this wild and crazy is surprisingly consistent for the whole series, actually.
Yeah.
So it actually is a good primer for them, unlike the introduction of the Ferengi. So
yeah, the Klingon, as seen here, don't change much as we continue. So
where should we go? I think it's more fun than coming of age. Maybe it's potentially. It's actually, if we're putting it into, if we're kind of because it's pretty fun. I would actually put it. I think it's before Encounter at Farpoint. Maybe even before the battle. Because Klingon stuff is always fun. It's definitely not peak Star Trek by any means. But
no, I don't think so.
But it's more fun than the battle, at least. And
yeah, I think I would sooner watch Heart of Glory than Encounter Farpoint easily.
Yeah, or the battle again. I don't need to see the battle.
Yeah, like
again,
if you have a choice between a Ferengi episode of TNG or a Klingon episode of TNG,
Klingons always win.
Klingon.
At this point.
And I do say of TNG, in particular.
Yes, that's also true. Okay, next one, the Arsenal of Freedom. This is a very weird one.
The Incredibles Island.
Yeah, the whole planet is an Incredibles Island.
Yeah, the planet was the Incredibles Island before the Incredibles Island. The self-improving, automated learning defense mechanism robots that get better with every time, with every generation and every encounter. Yar and Riker are stuck down there. Oh, no. And then everyone does, right? Like Picard and Beverly even end up down there, don't they?
Picard and Beverly.
And Beverly almost dies?
Yeah, Beverly actually gets injured because they fall down a hole with Picard.
And Beverly it's the first time Beverly goes, I have something to tell you. It's such an important secret, Picard. Come closer. Picard's even closer.
And Picard just walks away from her. The timing of that edit was always funny to me because he just walks away because I know he's looking to for an exit or something, but just the timing. But then you also have Yar and Worf and Riker just fucking around on the planet. I think Riker was trapped. He was frozen or something for a bit, and then he was released. Or something like that.
Oh yeah, maybe I think something to that effect. Yeah. And the end result was that they found the guy from Amadeus, a recording of the guy, the salesman of the weapon defense system. And he was like, "Hey, how about it? You want to buy?" And I don't remember exactly what they said.
They said, "Yes, we'll buy. We'll buy it." And
he goes,
"Okay, demo over." And
right. Yeah, we'll buy WinRAR.
Yeah. And then the B story was that Geordi gets to be captain. But is constantly challenged by this asshole from engineering who keeps saying, I should be captain.
Oh, yeah. This was the very brief moment where Geordi got to be in command. And it was the bit that kind of fooled me into thinking Geordi would end up being pretty cool.
Well, that bit actually happens earlier. The part where Geordi takes over, I think, is actually because it's in the one where everyone gets sick.
Everyone gets sick?
Yeah, which one was that? Well, I'm trying to remember. There was an episode.
Has that already happened in the episodes we've covered?
I don't remember. There's an episode where everyone...
Because Naked Now, everyone got drunk, but not sick.
I'm trying to...
Only Among Us, people were getting possessed, but I don't think the ship got sick.
Yeah, what's the episode where everyone got... No, that was Angel 1.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Angel 1 had the plot of there is some sort of
Oh, okay. Angel 1 was the thing because it began with that stupid holodeck skiing lesson.
Yes, that's the one. Okay, that's a huge thing we missed about Angel 1, actually, where there was, this virus going around, and everyone got sick, and Worf nods to Geordi saying, hey, you can do this. And they have the big moment where Geordi sits down in the captain's chair.
Okay.
So that happened in Angel 1.
So if that's where that happened, then
it happened again in Arsenal of Freedom. That's why I think overall, though, we thought, oh, this is all signaling that one day Geordi will be captain.
Oh, yeah, overall, it feels like, hey, Geordi has, some leadership chops in him.
Yeah, they keep trying to make him captain. Maybe he'll be a captain one day.
Yeah, maybe something will come of that.
Yeah, so that's what happened in Angel 1. Wow, we had totally missed the entire pandemic part of Angel 1.
Okay, yeah, that is coming to mind now how there are several moments throughout that first season because we were recording that during peak COVID time. We were thinking oh my God, anything infectious. There are many infectious things that happened in season 1.
Why would the holodeck ever give you a disease?
Yeah, that felt extra ridiculous in that moment. It's come on.
But that's the Arsenal of Freedom. Where should we put that?
I think this is also a great demonstration of what you mentioned earlier about the memes kind of becoming the memories because I remember about Angel 1 now is Riker in that outfit. That's it.
Being sexy. I don't think most people don't remember the pandemic, I think.
I can either remember Riker in the sexy outfit or the blonde lady who liked him. That's it.
Also, I think it's because that was a completely separate plot point.
Yeah, sometimes the A and B plots are so separate that it's very easy to forget one.
Yeah, wasn't there one where the plot point was also they had these they were trying to no, that was in Lonely Among Us. The B plot was that there were these two species. There's a dog species and another species.
Oh yeah, they were warring, having a race war on the ship.
Yeah, there's a B story we just completely forgot.
They were trying to assassinate each other and just wagging their fingers at each other.
Yeah,
hey, don't you do that?
And that was the first time Data showed up as Sherlock Holmes and attempted to solve the mystery. And it turns out it wasn't him. Because they were did they kill the Indian guy? And then yeah,
it was the first taste of Data being Holmes without actually entering the holodeck.
It's where his personal obsession with Sherlock Holmes began.
Which is a good through line. Yes. It's cool that it begins somewhere and keeps going.
So then the Arsenal of Freedom. I think it's in it's definitely in the watch if it comes on territory.
Yeah, I think it's a watch if it comes on. I feel like because it's so visually similar to The Incredibles whilst in the jungly parts.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's comforting to me in that way.
I think it's more interesting.
Robots, like self-improving robots being deadly in the jungle.
Yeah. I think it's more interesting than Angel 1. I don't think it's probably right here, in my opinion. Like between When the Bough Breaks and Angel 1. Because When the Bough Breaks had like a message about like, oh, you know, if you're too reliant on technology, you don't understand. Eventually it'll supersede you, etc. Whereas Arsenal of Freedom is, what's the message there?
Yeah, it's just like action antics and manufactured intrigue from I Have Something to Tell You.
And also Geordi having to, you know, fucking remain in power while some other guys try to usurp him. So
right, and that was like I was saying, like why, like how we need to leave now, or I think he was kind of flip flopping on him. Wasn't
he? Initially he was like, we gotta save them now. They're on the planet. Let's grab them. And then 30 minutes later, he's like, how could you leave them? Like they were, or like no.
It was either that or the other way around.
It was something where he immediately contradicted what he said. You know, he was just.
I remember
he was just a contrarian.
Just there to be a jerk.
Yeah. Okay, next one is Symbiosis.
Oh shit, I don't remember much about this one at all.
I think you will once I tell you what it's about. Should I tell you, or do you want to?
Go ahead.
There's a drug planet and a drug dealer planet.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I mean that's literally all I remember about it, though.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's a Prime Directive episode.
Yes.
They save a marooned ship, and on board are 2 drug addicts and 2 drug dealers. And slowly Beverly realizes they're basically giving them heroin, and the entire other planet, is basically hooked on this heroin. And Beverly's like,
the other planet's entire economy is based on providing them the heroin.
Almost literally, that's what's going on. And it becomes a Prime Directive question. Do we get involved or do we not?
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think thematically it's good, but technically it's bad. Because if they were going to technically talk about it, they already were getting involved by attempting to save them. So how much more of a violation of the Prime Directive would be to then tell them, hey, you're all hooked on drugs. You know, like,
yeah,
like
this was like a pretty messy application of Prime Directive principles.
Yeah. I mean,
again, when is it not?
I mean, I get that it's like an interesting moral issue, but you know,
it's a tough situation to make a call in.
Yeah.
So like they do accomplish that.
Yeah. And it's also Denise Crosby's last episode. This is actually the final episode she recorded.
The last one she shot herself, right?
She recorded herself. And you can tell because as the doors are closing on Beverly and Picard, she's waving in the background at the camera.
Right. I'm off to the Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, I'm off to do Pet Cemetery. So I don't think this is necessary viewing.
No, not at all.
I do.
And despite it being Tasha's last recorded episode, like that's just a bit of trivia.
It's just trivia. Yeah. In terms of story, I think it's better than Home Soil. I think it's I think despite the resolution being messy, I think the overall take is this is also the drug PSA episode where Tasha goes, well, drugs make you feel good, yeah. Wesley.
I forgot that would have been in this episode. Must have been.
Actually, I'm gonna put this right personally, I think this goes right below the Naked Now thing right there.
That's fine,
because I think it's not as fun as the Naked Now, but it's more fun than these. It has more to say than these episodes, I think.
Probably, yeah.
It's a better Prime Directive episode than Justice. Justice, they just fucking violate it. They go, fuck it, you know?
Yeah. No, but Wesley, though.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Tasha, next episode, Skin of Evil. What happens in Skin of Evil?
This is at least necessary viewing just off of events alone.
Yeah. It's a pretty big event.
Yeah, but its execution's a little clunky.
Yes. Well, because they originally weren't going to kill off Tasha Yar until Denise Crosby asked to be released from the show. So
it's visually interesting because that black goop is very like striking as a visual thing, and it never really nothing like it appeared on the show since.
Yeah, it was technically very complex to pull off in the show. They had to like do all this stuff with and it was very difficult.
Did they make use of like reversing footage and stuff?
Yeah, lots of reversing footage. There was one really neat shot of Riker's face where they did a plaster mold of Jonathan Frakes' face and had it peek up through the black goo, so it looked like his screaming face was coming out of the goo. So,
right.
But conceptually, it's a really weird episode. They meet literally evil incarnate on a planet, and
it's just a pool of black sludge that acts like Melvar from Futurama,
and it won't let them leave. That's the crux of the episode.
Yeah, it's a this feels like a TOS sort of setup.
Yeah.
From what I've heard of TOS and its episodes, where it's just like, hey, you've encountered an entity that has like whims and you need to deal with them.
Yeah, and the way they win is Picard makes it feel bad by yelling insults at it, kind of.
Yes.
I don't remember if that's exactly what happened, but basically
I just remember making the joke of having to tell it yo mama jokes. That's what I remember.
But I think he does like berate the entity enough that it gives up or something. I think it's literally what happened.
It gives up.
Something.
Like, I kind of want to just go to a brief synopsis real quick to get, a more complete description of how they get away.
I mean, it could literally just be your mama jokes. And that's really how it happened.
Picard points out that if Armus murders them, he'll be immortal and alone forever.
Is that it? Is that how
I guess that's it. I guess it's like, hey, we're either going to leave or you're going to kill us and you're going to be alone anyway. So,
all right.
Yeah, like, I guess that's it.
Okay, cool. Skin of Evil is necessary viewing, obviously. I just don't know where it goes exactly. It's getting crowded up here. So let's see.
I would put it...
It might be the most necessary viewing, technically. It's a death of a major character.
Yeah.
And it's... I think it might technically be the most necessary viewing.
Because introductions of characters aren't... I mean, you can always catch up on characters, I guess. But this was a cast member that needs to be explained.
Yes, because...
and needs to have an explanation.
Yeah, because she will kind of come back in various forms. So, kind of necessary, I guess. Okay, next one's a weird one. We'll always have Paris.
This is the first former love interest of Picard, aside from Beverly, potentially, that we've encountered. I recall, well, of course, there's the holodeck Paris.
Yes.
That he goes into and visits.
That has the fucking subway tunnel running underneath it now. Under
Eiffel Tower. And the weird crystal tube instrument and the clear menus.
Which is a real instrument. I've learned. Like, that's real. These glass tubes, they aren't colored normally, but this is like a real instrument that uses rings to like make...
I think I remember like seeing people comment about how, yes, it is based on something real, but yeah, I'm failing to recall the name of this instrument.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
But I don't recall anything other than the fact that Picard had a former love interest re-enter his life.
So the former love interest,
like, the specifics at all.
The former love interest is married to a scientist who's been conducting time experiments on this planet. And and the time experiments cause all sorts of shenanigans to happen, including like different versions of characters meeting up when they shouldn't, etc. Which is what happens here with the Datas meeting each other, and they have to escape.
I totally forgot it had such a big like time antics thing.
That convolution of it, I don't remember exactly why it happened. I just know that it causes shenanigans with time, and it may destroy the fabric of the universe itself if not stopped. So,
I totally forgot about that part.
So that's we'll always have Paris. I think this is a skip.
Just for because I don't remember much of it anymore, I want to say watch if it comes on so I can remember what it is.
We could do that.
It's like, watch if it comes on, because like if I forget what it's about every time, I'll be interested enough to be like, what happened?
What happened? What happened here?
What happened in this one?
Oh yeah,
I need to remember what happened.
It's a crazy time scientist, right? So we could put where does it belong?
But it's okay. We don't have enough in Skip for season 1, honestly.
We don't have a quota for anything.
But if we're not willing to put season 1 episodes in skip, like,
it's a high skip. Then we'll call it a high skip because it's
sure high skip.
It's more fun than Lonely Among Us, I think.
No hustle either. Skip.
Now we have conspiracy.
Oh right, head explosion time.
Yeah, that's a pretty
peak Star Trek.
Yeah.
That one moment is peak Star Trek.
That Roddenberry insisted on. Like, they were like, make this a violent death. Like,
I'll hand it to him for that. Like, that's good. That's a good one, Gene. Good on you for that.
It also had Riker kung fu fighting an old man, and
yes,
and Geordi being thrown through a door, and then
a metal door
that should have shattered his spine, and then Worf having a moment where it looks like he's going to gear up.
It could have blinded him or something.
Worf is gearing up to do like a really cool, badass thing, and you think, oh my god, this is the first time Worf is going to like go into combat and really work. And
but it's season 1 of Justice League, and Superman gets knocked out,
and Worf gets beat up by an old man.
Yeah, this was still I guess it's mostly throughout TNG that Worf is the, prove you're a threat by beating Worf.
Yes, which, because it happens so often, it just shows that Worf is not a threat at all. So
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah,
can't do it all the time.
I feel like it's necessary viewing, right? Because it's pretty important events happen.
Yeah, it's at least necessary viewing, but extract the head explosion for peak Star Trek.
Just a head explosion goes into peak Star Trek.
It's great.
It's like, it's not as good as Scanners.
It's a clip that deserves to be in any discussion of Trek as a whole.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest what the fuck moments in Star Trek for sure.
It's great. I remember the first time I saw that, try to watch on Netflix like years and years ago. I was like, what the fuck?
And then they burn his stomach out too because the worm is in there, Yeah. And Picard has this look of murderous intent on his face. He's like disgusted at this guy.
But they do it together too.
Yeah. So it's necessary viewing. It actually might be fairly high, honestly. It might be higher. It might be here.
Like, it's also really weird because it brings up all this crap that's never brought up again.
Yeah. It makes you think.
It introduces like this crazy like plot that has like infiltrated Starfleet itself.
Yeah, they're like
Starfleet itself is super compromised apparently, but no one cares after this episode.
And at the end of the episode, they end on like a horror movie ending where they're like, they're still out there somewhere. And they pan to the camera and they're like, you thought this could be the upcoming enemy in Star Trek, and they never show up again except in the comics. So,
okay. Well, then stay tuned for. Well, I mean, listener, don't stay tuned to us for any reason regarding this, but like, check out those comics if you want to find out about the fate of these weird worms that take over Starfleet.
Also, this is probably like the true season finale, but instead we got the neutral zone.
Right. We got a bit of a denouement.
Yeah. What would neutral zone be? What is neutral zone?
Neutral zone was Data finds some old near-death rich people.
No, one of them wasn't rich. It was just a lady who was just frozen.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Like people
against her
who
wishes.
Were frozen.
Yeah.
People. They found a bunch of cryogenically frozen people who were preserved from the 20th century
on a satellite for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why they're there.
Yeah, why would they then put them on a satellite instead of keeping them on Earth? It's really weird.
But they're the wonders of modern medicine. They have managed to save their lives, thaw them out, and now a bunch of people from the 90s or late 80s era are now having to deal with life in the 23rd century.
And Picard protested strongly against bringing them back to life, by the way. Picard was like...
Yeah, it's like, Data, they were already dead.
What's the fucking difference?
But this is actually a good episode. I remember this episode fondly. In fact, I might have spoken too quickly earlier. Like, this might be easily in the top 2 season 1 episodes.
Really? That's fascinating. I could not have a more opposite opinion.
Really?
I think has one fun character, which is the country singer. And
okay, I think I'm overemphasizing my fond memory of him alone. and I also think that they have some decent bits with the lady and like the emotional like crap she's going through with her family and like rediscovering who she has connections to now, and just the general dealings with that.
But it's like, very surface levelly. It's not like they don't like, she doesn't like meet them and there's like a whole thing. It's just basically what happens is Deanna just says, well, we have computers now and you could just look them up. And that's how it ended. That's basically what it was. It wasn't like, oh my God, am I going to talk to them? And there's like, oh, there's a twist because it turns out they don't really want to talk to them or something. There's nothing else. It was just, I found them.
Honestly, you might be turning me around on this because, well, like honestly, your memory of these episodes is much better than mine, and that dictates a lot.
And I think honestly, it's funny because the country singer is like the model I've come back from the dead citizen. Like he comes back and he just loves it. He's just like, everything's great. This is the awesome.
Yeah, he very quickly takes to the advantageous parts of the future.
Yes, we almost get a country western Data, but that never happens, which is a shame.
Well, I also kind of like how they clearly show how a capitalist has no place in the future. Although, I kind of liked that depiction of what I can remember of it.
Yeah.
But it might have stumbled somewhere that I forgot.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, that the depictions, one of the things that we griped about was that like, okay, everybody stop touching things. And this guy just shows up on the bridge and starts talking to the Romulans.
Yeah, we did have a lot of problems with the openness of their ship in general. And
although it turns out that he ended up being really important to saving them, because he could tell, because he's a bluffer too. He could tell right away the Romulans were bluffing. He's like, they're lying to you, So
right,
him being evil ended up working out because he's dealing with evil people. So the funny part is
evil people.
The funny part is, it turns out that the capitalist character does show up in other like Star Trek books, and it turns out he becomes an envoy to the Ferengi. So it's perfect. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect trajectory for the guy.
Yeah, you need someone who understands.
I'm not mad at that at all.
If you need someone who understands how to talk capitalism with a capitalist society.
That is the perfect evolution of his mindset and a way for him to thrive.
Yeah.
Good for him.
But other than that, like the episode was meant to set up some sort of, somehow set up an enemy that's coming, because part of what they were all freaking out about was that there were entire outposts just lifted out of the planets and gone missing, right?
Yeah.
Right? And
were they trying to allude to Borg at that point?
Well, the Borg, they weren't sure it was the Borg yet. So they actually weren't sure what it was yet, I think.
Oh, okay. So they were just putting down threatening happenings.
Yeah. So they put down two big threats. They put down the worms and they put down the colonies disappearing, because it was happening to both Starfleet, like human settlements, and Romulan settlements. So they realized
they also had the Ferengi, and they were also doing the Romulans.
Yeah. So, and it turns out none of these are going to be our villains moving forward. So
that's all right. I mean, I guess even as far as we've gotten in our podcast so far, although the Borg kind of have become like the main villain now, it's not like we've even encountered them that many times.
Yeah, they're just so memorable because of Best of Both Worlds being such a big deal. That's really why.
Yeah, Best of Both Worlds is a really huge deal. And then since then, we've had the one with Hugh.
Yeah, so we've had Hugh.
And
before Best of Both Worlds, we had Deja Q, where the first encounter with the Borg. But then after that, there's a few here and there. I don't remember it directly that much. So
okay,
yeah. All that is to say, Nutrizone is also when the Romulans literally say, "We're back."
Oh yeah, and I think I kind of vaguely recall discussion of us trying to decide who the villains even were by that point.
Yeah. So that was also them trying to say the Romulans are also back as villains. So. True. So the neutral zone, kind of a lot going on, but not a lot going on in one episode. I'm not sure where to place it.
I mean, although I have positive vibes, remembering it for the most part, I don't consider it necessary viewing in terms of what you see happen in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a skip either. There's enough going on that I think it's fun to watch.
I'm okay with this being watched if it comes on.
Yeah, but where would it go? Should it go? Maybe right below Symbiosis, right here. That seems like a good spot.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's got more going on than Justice.
Yeah, I would sooner watch the Neutral Zone than Justice, and
yeah,
let's see. I think I'd even watch it over Symbiosis personally, but
okay. I think these are interchangeable. So yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah.
And what's that other one? What's the episode next to Hide and Q? Because I don't see the actual title.
I know, and this is a weird thumbnail they chose for it. That's the Naked Now. Like,
okay, that's the Naked Now. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, because that wasn't Beverly and Picard gonna die together in the bridge that episode?
No, that was Angel 1.
They were there.
No. Oh. Or that was the Last Outpost. I forget. It's one of the ones.
Which one were they freezing?
That was the Last Outpost. The ship, the Last Outpost was draining power from the ship, so life support was going away. That was the Last Outpost.
One of the various moments at which Beverly abandoned Wesley.
Yeah, this one, this one for the Naked Now, they're frozen because while they were drunk, one of them opened the doors and everyone froze to death. And then,
oh right, okay,
yeah, and then there's a really weird line where
I vaguely remember that.
There's a really weird line where Riker says, "Oh, the doors were sucked out," and Data replies, "Correction, they were blown out." And it's like, okay, it's a weird line to have written.
I think I remember I got caught up on that, and then like the physics people came around and said, "Yes, that is technically correct, but
why is that dialogue?
It's also pedantic."
Yeah. Why is that dialogue?
But I think I think in that moment I was being wrong because I was trying to be pedantic at it, and I was coming at it at the wrong angle. So
whatever, it's fine. But yeah, I guess this is our tier list then.
Yeah, so I guess that's where we're at. We got 2 episodes that are potentially peak Star Trek. Let's see.
I think most people would not agree with our choices for peak Star Trek.
Oh yeah, not at all. Not at all. Hell no.
Because here's the thing. Many people consider the best episode of TNG, season 1, to actually be Symbiosis, which I really don't agree with.
Really?
Yeah, they love this episode because of the moral.
What do they cite as like the strengths of it?
Because of the moral choices they have to make in the episode. But I think, I think the technical storytelling of that is bad. That's why I'm not as into it personally.
Sure.
And yeah, the rest of it, I think a lot of people do agree that 11001001 is pretty good. I think most people don't like the big goodbye that much, but I disagree. I like that ending.
I mean, you need to enjoy goofiness to a degree to be into the big goodbye.
Yeah. But I think in general, this list makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm cool with it. I am curious to see what if we were to continue doing this with further seasons, how those stack up in distribution.
Yeah.
Another thing, like if considering that we only had season 1 to work with, I think we got very granular.
Yeah. I think if we did the whole
if we
series,
were to scale this out,
if we did
many of these would go down a tier 2.
Yeah, or just a lot of these would just go straight to skip. If we did the entire
but I mean,
series,
for the sake of this, since we are only dealing with season 1 here, I think it makes sense to striate it out like this. So
yeah. And another thing to point out is that none of this corresponds to whatever ratings we gave the show. So
okay. Full disclosure, I did kind of want to pull up, a record of what we had given these episodes originally, but it was inconvenient to go find it. But that could be a project for somebody.
But also,
if they want
the ratings. It's like whose line? They don't really matter to some degree because, like, for example, my favorite Star Trek...
it's just what we're feeling in the moment. And it's usually reacting to whoever says their rating first.
Yeah,
so.
Because my favorite TNG episode of all time is Measure of a Man, but I only gave it...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, of TNG of all time.
No, of course I know that.
Yeah, but I only gave it a 9.5, and I gave Yesterday's Enterprise a perfect 10. So clearly my own rankings aren't consistent. So
so if you were relying
it's just Yesterday's
on the
Enterprise
numbers,
is a very emotional episode, like because you see Tasha come back and she does a really cool thing, and if she feels like she's vindicated, it's a 10. So
right. I mean, I can easily just give Measure of a Man that last 0.5. It's like if you have to consider them together, and it's like, well, fine, they're both 10s then. It's okay.
Because I think what I technically did is that I gave Measure of a Man the regular episode a 9.5 and the extended version a 10.
That does sound familiar.
I think that's what I did. Yeah,
that's fine, and then that puts you right back to that's perfect.
And that's because in the extended edition, I really liked the little one line they added back at the very end where, Riker's feeling like sad. He's like, Data, I almost got you fucking like torn apart by an engineer. I almost made you lose all your rights, etc. What kind of a person am I? And then Data, to try to reassure him, goes, Commander, Will. Like that, the Will line was cut.
Yes.
And I like that
the fact that he called him Will was such a good little bit.
Yeah, it only took a few seconds. I don't get why that was cut, but it adds a lot to his character. It shows that the entire point of the episode is to show that he's not just a robot, right? That, he's sentient. And to me, that was a good nod towards sentience, like he's understanding how to comfort his friend, Yeah. And I thought that was something that was worth having. But anyway, this is our ranking of TNG Season 1. Hope you guys liked it. This is something pretty new. But yeah, if you guys have like this, maybe you could check out some of the other stuff we do. You just go to fugitiveframes.com. We have links to all of the things that we do, including our podcast, Would You Stay Tuned? We're eventually going to record an episode of Utopia eventually. But that's coming up.
One day
in the new year, once everyone stopped traveling and all that. So, that's what we're going to do. And also, check out our merch store. Might as well plug that. Go to fugitiveframes.store. We have a hoodie there. We have 2 t-shirts up.
Have you been shivering in the cold for far too long? Have we got the product for you?
But it can't be too cold. It's not that thick of a sweatshirt. So
yeah. We're not freaking alpacas over here.
Yeah, but it's a pretty decent quality sweatshirt that has a cool my favorite part, the embroidered logo. I'm actually pretty happy about that logo embroidery on it. So just head out to fugitiveframes.store, check out that stuff. And again, once things settle down, we're in the new year, probably going to be commissioning either John Velas, if you know who he is. He's the guy who did all the animations for the podcast and whatnot, to do some designs for us. So yeah. All right. Next episode should be a regular one. I think we are actually going to look at lessons. I know we've said that 2 podcasts in a row. But yeah, we're going to actually look at lessons. So yeah, we're
going to learn.
Yeah, we're going to learn them. Thanks for coming along with us on this very different type of format. Hopefully it's been interesting. If you like it, let us know if you want to do for the other seasons we've already done.
If you want to passionately argue with us, feel free to start.
Yeah. And maybe
you go first.
And maybe by the time, if we do season 2, it might make sense to bring Ricardo in on that. I think he remembers season 2 much better. Because he likes Pulaski, yes. So I think he would remember.
Oh yeah, Pulaski.
Yeah, so I think he would remember that season way more. It's also a shorter season; it's only 22. So
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Stay safe, everybody. Happy New Year. Goodbye.
See ya.